Okay, so as promised, here is my most awkward studio moment ever. When I first started recording, and this random session came in, and it was with a supermodel. Her name was Ingrid Sinhive, I believe, or something. I think she's a Belgian model. And at the time, she'd done Victoria's Secrets and in magazines, and she was extremely beautiful. And I was this young, awkward little kid working as a recording engineer in a studio. So she was, I guess, working on some songs. She wanted to kind of see what the music career could be for her, along with being a supermodel. And so she booked the studio. She had a photo shoot in San Diego, and then she booked this studio. Well, I got the call to engineer, and I was super nervous. So I'm sitting at the studio, insanely nervous because it's this supermodel, and I had yet to understand how to even talk to beautiful women like this. And I get a phone call from her manager, who's also with her. I can't find the studio. So I'm like, okay, I know where you're at. Let me drive over there, and then you guys can follow me back. And they're like, cool. So they were in this parking lot at a Mexican restaurant called Acapulco. So I drive over there and I meet them, and then she's like, well, I'm hungry. Would you like to join us for lunch? So I'm like, yeah. So here I am sitting at this lunch with this manager, this gorgeous woman, supermodel, Victoria's Secret supermodel, and me. And I was so awkward through the entire lunch. Like I ate, but I was awkward. I didn't know what to say. Like, how do I speak? Anyways, so we finish up lunch and we drive over to the studio, and I get the song and I load it up. She starts singing, and she's singing and I think she was singing in French, I believe. And I don't know what the lyrics are. And it's kind of like a sensual song, kind of slow to mid tempo, and it just kind of had this groove, and she's singing like into the microphone, and it's all like super sexy sounding voice. And then she comes in and she's listening, and she's like, do you want to know the words? And I was like, sure. So like the hook of the chorus was like something about spilling me over the bed and spilling roses all over me, and then spilling yourself all over me, like something crazy like that, right? And I was just like sitting there listening to her talk like that, just going, And the bridge of the song. Now I'm getting to the most awkward moment. So the bridge of the song is like a breakdown, and she sings very little, but what she's trying to sing is basically like, making love, right? to put it in the most simple terms, she's talking about making love. But on top of that, her manager / producer wanted her to make these moaning sounds to kind of like really be engaged in the track. And so here she is standing in the room and with this microphone, and she's trying to sound sexy by moaning and making these little like sex sounds into the microphone. And it just wasn't working. It just sounded cheesy. And she was super uncomfortable, and I'm like awkward as all hell. I'm just sitting there just listening to these sounds coming through the speakers, and I'm just like, I don't even know how I was being as just a person. I was probably just like, couldn't even talk, right? So I came up with this idea to take a couch into the room, to the control or the tracking room, and I had her lay down on the couch, got her nice and comfortable, turned the lights down, and then I hung the microphone up over her mouth. So she's just laying down on this couch. And I told her, I was like, close your eyes and pretend that we're not in the control room listening. So she did it. And after a few takes, she really got into this. And I mean, the sounds were completely realistic. She sounded exactly like you'd imagine her sounding. And it turned out really, really good. But when she first came in to listen to what she just done by laying down on the couch and the microphone suspended, she came in, and the look on her face as I was playing it back was like, I guess it sounded so realistic to her that she got a little embarrassed because, you know, there's like this random guy, I looked like a kid at the time, listening to her emulate sex. And I got so awkward that I got completely embarrassed, flushed. Like I couldn't even look at her because I was like, every time I looked at her, I of course would just imagine her in that position of, you know, being in bed with some, I don't know. But anyways, I was completely awkward, and that awkwardness made the entire room even more awkward because I couldn't keep my shit together. I was just like, you know, and we finished the session and she left, and I felt like a complete idiot because I couldn't maintain my professionalism simply because she was a beautiful woman. Like, you know, so my big takeaway from that, what I learned was no matter who is in the room, I still have to be professional. No matter what they're doing, what they're singing about, what they're I have to maintain professionalism, because if I don't, I'll make the whole room awkward. And that's what I did. So there's my most awkward studio moment. Thanks for listening. This story that I shared with you today is how I moved through the Alchemix 6-week series. It's basically just lessons that I've learned and techniques I've learned throughout the years, and I use stories from my experiences, and I talk about them and talk about, you know, what I figured out, how I learned this, and how I use that and moved on to become better at being a producer and engineer. So go ahead and check out the site, and I hope to see you part of the course. All right, cheers. Bye.